I am a Russo wannabe. Together, we will be creating those LED lights on the piano. So I'm pretty dumb, but smart enough to explain the process. So how it actually works is when you push something on the keyboard right here, within the actual keyboard, it's going to recognize which key you pressed, and it's going to play the sound within this keyboard. I mean, that's how keyboards should work when you power them on. But instead of doing that, we need to set up a wire so it also stores whatever we are clicking on the keyboard, transfer that over to a computer, then we hook up some LED lights connected to that same computer, and flash it wherever the keyboard position is pressed. Yeah, it probably doesn't make sense actually. I tried. I told you, I'm dumb. If you guys want to go straight to the materials, go to this timestamp. I'm just going to explain my thought process. So if you guys worked with connecting an instrument to a computer, you'll know it's something to do with Midi files. Hopefully, at the bare minimum, you guys know that much. If not, then LOL. So here we have the piano. Doink, doink. All right, so here we have the piano that I quickly drew. It took me 3 hours. Here we have the computer. Hopefully by intuition, you guys probably figured out this much, that you will need your keyboard and some kind of third-party computer. A laptop would work too. Now, obviously, in order to register what note you pressed on the keyboard, you somehow need to connect it to the computer. So what we gotta do is basically attach a wire to the computer. If you press the C over here, the computer should recognize it's a C because of the wire. I think that's how wires work, so yeah. So here I'm just gonna draw in the LED lights. Again, a lot of effort put into there. So now here's the struggle over here. While we press this note over here, it transfers over towards the computer. How on earth are we going to get the lights to light up right here? Well, the initial thought is, well then all you just gotta do is, if you can get the C note over here, then guess what? All you just gotta do is yoink and connect it like that. Excellent! However, just like how iPhones have lightning charging cables, it just doesn't work like that. Basically what I'm saying is you kind of need an adapter. You need something in between here to connect to the LED lights. It just doesn't work like that. There's specific voltage, there's grounding methods. So realistically, we need an adapter. In the real world, we actually call it microcontroller, but for this demonstration, I'll be calling it adapter. All right, and just to make it to the 10-minute mark on YouTube, let's just do a little recap right here, totally not for ad revenue. You press any note on the keyboard. Let's say we press the C, again, because I like C's, especially when it's on my report card. And when you click on a C, that note gets transferred over to a computer, and in order for the lights to show on the keyboard, i.e. explicitly this light over here, we somehow need to connect whatever note we pressed onto the PC and transfer it over connected to the LED lights. But in order for that to happen, we need some kind of adapter because LED lights have certain voltage and grounding methods. Now, obviously I'm using very vague terms, but I think this is the simplest way to describe it. So let's focus on the adapter over here. Again, the proper term for this is actually microcontroller. I'm just calling it adapter because I'm assuming not everyone here is a tech smarty. Neither am I. So together we shall go blind, except I'm doing the planning. So I'm carrying you guys. Don't worry, my back is strong. So what is this adapter? Well, have you heard of something called Arduino or Raspberry Pi? Just for a quick little reference here, this is basically what I'm talking about. By the way, don't be intimidated by all of these things because I'm even more intimidated. So for the adapter, there are two things that come to mind: a Raspberry Pi or an Arduino. Again, this is all geek talk, so if you want to skip the planning and just get what materials you need and follow the setup, again, timestamp right here. So let's talk about the Arduinos. There are 3 Arduinos that come to mind: the Uno, Leonardo, and the Due. The order that I just listed them is actually from worst to best, so that means the Due is the better one. First, let's start off by going with Uno versus Leonardo. They both have the same processing speed. However, because the Leonardo has a built-in USB communication, it just results a faster processing. When I press something on the keyboard over here and it goes over to my computer, then back to the adapter, it just transfers that signal faster back to the lights, which are going to be attached on the keyboard. Now, I do want to note something over here. Obviously, since I did state Uno, Leonardo, and Due, spoiler alert, Uno's the worst one. However, it is also the cheapest. And then obviously the third one, well, the Due is the most expensive one. I mean, who figured? If the Uno's the worst one, why did you recommend it? Well, thank you. I will explain. Now, obviously, when you play the piano, you're not going to be, hitting one key at a time, because if you're doing one key at a time, go for it. Go for the Uno. But for most songs, you might actually require your right hand to play 2 notes and your left hand to play maybe like 3 notes. So 5 keys being pressed at the same time, the Uno, unfortunately, cannot handle. I mean, the lights will still light up. However, it won't light up at the same time. So in other words, if you were to grab your left hand, play 3 notes, the lights will light up simultaneously. But for the right hand, you'll notice a little bit of delay because 5 notes are being pressed simultaneously. And sadly, the Uno cannot really communicate that well through USB. Don't get me wrong, the Uno is very good, but because our project heavily relies on USB communication, the Uno might not be ideal. But once again, if you just play like 1 note at a time, then so be it. Get the Uno. You won't notice any delay and it'll actually save you a lot. Basically, think of it like this. The Uno is like Bluetooth 4.2. It works, but there might be delay. But again, that depends on how many notes you press simultaneously. And because I am a masochist, let's just compare the worst to the best. So Uno versus Due. Actually, never mind. I changed my mind. I don't think I need to explain anything. Basically, this is like comparing the iPhone 4 versus the iPhone 10. Just literally no competition. You don't even need to say anything except for the price difference. Yeah, pretty much. All right, so now for our showdown with the first and second best, the Leonardo versus the Due. Now you guys might need to know a little bit of operating system terms to fully get it, but I will just slim this down to the brain dead point because that's literally my thought when I first saw the documentations on the website. The Due is 32 bits and the Leonardo is 8 bits. 32 is bigger than 8, so the Due wins. If the Due is 32 bits, then that just means that there's more memory. So you know that illustration where I was saying if your left hand is playing 3 notes and your right hand is playing 2 notes? Well, guess what? If you actually, I don't know, use all 10 fingers simultaneously at once, which is probably not even realistic, unless you really try hard in piano, you'll notice 0 delay and it's just perfectly fluent. The Leonardo, however, it may do this. It might recognize like the first 10 notes that you press simultaneously, but if you do it over and over again, like dun 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 dun, okay, then you'll realize some delay. But with the Due, if you do dun 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 dun, nah, you won't see a delay. So realistically, getting the Leonardo or the Due doesn't really matter. Just go with whichever is the cheapest. However, since my life sucks and I am probably going to go into robotics one day, yeah, might as well get the Due. But again, if you're only watching this video just to make LED lights on the piano and sync with the correct notes on the keyboard here, do go with the Leonardo. Or if you want to be like me, then follow along. All right, so for Team Arduino, the Due will be our representation. Now we have the Raspberry Pi. This is a territory that I've never really looked into too much. Raspberry Pi is definitely not beginner friendly. There's definitely more value compared to the Arduino, but Raspberry Pi, definitely a slight step up. The Raspberry Pi is like a mini computer, and you're comparing this to a microcontroller, which is the Arduino Due. All right, so you guys remember this diagram over here, right? Okay, cool. All right, because it's going to be gone. So ideally, this is what I expect if I were to use the Raspberry Pi. So instead of the PC being here, well, guess what? Ploop. We don't need a PC. Why? Because the Raspberry Pi itself is technically a computer. So when you press the note C on the keyboard, instead of the wire heading to the computer, it actually just goes to the Raspberry Pi itself. And then we connect certain wires here, and it gets transferred over to the LED lights. That's what you can expect with the Raspberry Pi. So you can definitely see how it's less messier and it may look a lot more neater, but it doesn't stop there. Within the Raspberry Pi, you can install an LED screen. Oh my god, this looks like the Among Us. You can even install some buttons here on the Raspberry Pi and select maybe the color change or something. And not only that, maybe you can even like have this to be Bluetooth and connect it over to some Bluetooth headphones. Something crazy, I don't know. Very, very endless. Connect a speaker into it, plug in a headphone jack. But realistically, just think of it a bit more portable and a lot more powerful. Now here's the question, what am I choosing? I'm choosing the Arduino Due. there is no way I'm going to be doing a tutorial on Pi Zero. It's completely overkill for this project. It's like bringing a rocket launcher to a water balloon fight. If this video gets 5,000 likes, I might consider doing a Raspberry Pi version. It'll include features like a little mini screen, buttons, changing LED colors, record your songs, but for now, it's Arduino Due. All right, so here I thought we'd just walk through the materials over here and how to get them. Well, obviously, you just buy them online. I mean, so we'll start off with the LED lights, mainly because that's probably the main thing that should come to mind when you have lights on the piano and you want to sync it up to the notes that you want to play. When you search up the LED lights, whether it's on eBay or Amazon or AliExpress perhaps, make sure that there is WS28212B. This is the model that you want to focus on because each light is individually addressable. So obviously when you play one note on the keyboard, you expect just that one light to be on, right? You don't want the whole entire keyboard to be lit up. If you have an 88 keyboard, make sure the length that you buy is 2 meters. So when you select the 2 meter option, make sure it's the 144 LEDs. You could possibly get away with 60 or even 96, but 144 brings the best result. So back to the drawing board, I will describe the 30, 60, 96, and 144 LEDs. What does that mean? So again, we have our piano over here. This time I'll draw it more towards the right so my fat face cam doesn't block anything. We have our LED lights right over here. And then again, with my beautiful drawing skills, we will draw a piano. So this is a representation of 30 LED. So if it's 30, you can expect the lights to be something like this. Very spaced out. You guys might be wondering, well, 30 LEDs might be cheaper and it could be better. It could save on the project. Yes, that's very true. However, it's not position accurate. The higher the number the LED is, the more accurate the positioning. So here is what I mean. Say we play this note, well, this LED light will light up. But if we play this note, this LED light would also light up. We play this note, this LED light would light up. So as you can kind of see, 2 notes, and this is just white keys, but 2 notes can just mean 1 light. Okay, why don't we switch this over to 60? Oh, I erased the 0. So if we purchase something that's 60 LED, then, we'll have double the lights here. If you play this note, I guess according to this diagram, this LED light will shine. You play this note, this LED will shine. So you kind of get the idea. The more LEDs, the more lights work together to click on that one note. So again, 60 would work, 96 would work. They're both positionally accurate, but for the best result, definitely do go with 144. 144. And just picture a lot of more X's here. I don't know, just... All right, there we go. This is 144 LED. So instead of 60 LED, right, when you click on one note and then just only one light shows up, in this one note space, maybe 3 LED lights will light up simultaneously for that one note. Now, the first initial thought might be like, why would you need 3 LED lights for one key? Well, here's the thing. Think about the piano tiles from Synthesia or something. By default, and if this is good enough for you, then so be it. Usually it's just one solid color. However, if you want this to be gradient, so basically maybe like a little mixture of, I don't know, red at the bottom here on the right side or something like that. Actually, that would look like a horrible tile. But if you want like a little gradient palette, and if you guys don't know what a gradient is, just look over here. Look at that little image. I'll probably enlarge it. So if you want the tile to look like this, all nice and colorfully, that is where the 3 LED lights for one key can come to play. Now I do want to note, if you want to stick to the 144 LED, then you definitely do want to stick with the Arduino Leonardo or the Due. So yeah, get the 2 meters 144. Now on the chance that you have a keyboard that is 70 keys or less, go with the 1 meter LED and make sure it's 144. But for my big boy over here, we will be going with the 2 meters 144. Up next is the PCB color. That just basically means like, do you want it to be white or do you want it to be black? Looking at my keyboard here, it's black, so I am definitely going to be choosing black here. Now, waterproof. Now, if I zoom in over here, you'll realize that there are waterproofing. For waterproofing, you genuinely just don't need waterproof. Like, I'm being serious, you don't. But however, I do recommend IP65 just because it has like that thin layer of plastic. So when the lights shine, it doesn't like glaze at your eyes while you're playing. Obviously, we can adjust the intensity of the light. The one that I plan on getting is IP65. Actually, because this is a tutorial, I guess I might as well go for IP67 just to give you the full extent of what it should look like. But again, there's the picture right here. As you can tell, this is non-waterproof. It's just pure lights out in the air. IP65, just a thin layer. And IP67, well, it's just completely gloated with waterproofing. All right, and now for the Arduino, let's start off with the Arduino Uno over here and see what they have to offer. Now you'll realize there may be some like third-party ones. Yes, it is cheaper. Should you go for it? Absolutely. Even if the brand is Elegoo Uno, it's technically Arduino. It's just a third-party thing. It performs as expected to the original thing. Just make sure the word Uno is at least there. And just make sure that there's this thing. Yeah, pretty much. Just make sure there's like that black hole thing. So again, for the Arduino Uno, if you see a bootleg copy and it is the Uno version, go with that. You don't have to go with the original. But again, for tutorial purposes, I will be sticking with the original. If you guys want to do the same, go for it. So I'm just going to quickly go over the Leonardo over here. Again, there's the original copy, and if we scroll down, we might find a cheaper option. So maybe instead of paying 43 bucks, and upon scrolling around, you can definitely do see some third-party ones. This one's out of stock, but I think this just proves the point that even the third parties work. People buy them. And I do want to note, when you buy these Arduinos, make sure they have headers. What headers are is basically just like this little intruding things from this little motherboard looking thing. Just make sure they have those little intruding things. You'll see why in a second. We can buy the original Arduino Due for around $83, or once again, we go to the third party and pay cheaper. Once again, it doesn't really matter, just make sure there are headers. Make sure the board doesn't look like this. That will require soldering. Unless you're good with that, then go with this. But I have no qualms on covering on how to do the soldering method. So we covered the lights and we covered the Arduino. What is next? So up next, we will be needing some jumper cables, or Dupont wires, whichever you want to call them. So if we look closely at the LED lights, and this goes for any of the LED lights that we buy that are individually addressable, as you can see right here, in our LED lights, there are pins. Actually, I think this is a bad image. Let me go find another one. So right here, as you can see, there are these pins over here. This is where you want to use the wires to attach those 3 pinholes and connect it to the Arduino. So we will go ahead and search up Dupont wires or jumper cables, whichever you want to call them. But just make sure it is male to male. So this is Dupont wires right here, and I'm pretty sure you guys probably seen it or at least saw it somewhere. Just make sure that there is some length to it. So at least get a wire that's at least maybe over 10 centimeters or I don't know, 10 divided by 2.54. 3.5 inches. I don't know. Whatever you states people say. I feel like I should do this, but let's just put jumper wires. Once again, you can also use jumper wires, and yeah, ideally it's the same thing. Proper terminology, Dupont wires, but jumper wires is just probably easier to memorize. Now, these aren't really important because I feel like a lot of people would have these things in their houses. To power the Arduino, we will be needing a micro USB. Basically this thing over here, okay? Like, again, I'm pretty sure you probably have this in your house somewhere. If not, then get yourself one of these. Make sure there's at least some length to the cable. It doesn't have to be extremely long, but just get that. You may or may not need this, but you might need like a USB extension cable because, well, unless your computer is literally next to your keyboard, you might not need it. On the chance your keyboard's over here and your computer's literally right here, you might need a USB extender. Finally, you'll be needing the Midi to USB over here. Some of the old keyboards might have Midi pins that look like this, and some Midi ports might actually just literally be a printer cable, which I'll show you real quick right here. So yeah, other Midi cables might just look like this, straight up from the printer. So once again, find that Midi cable that connects from here to your computer. You might want to purchase another USB extender or just move your computer closer to the keyboard. But yeah, just get something that connects from your keyboard to the computer. All right, so here at my garage, we got knowledge and knowledge and knowledge. Again, I went with the Arduino Due over here. These are the Dupont wires, all 3 variants. And then we got the LED lights. For tutorial purposes, I actually went with the real Arduino Due. And for the lights, once again, 144, I wanted IP65, but then again, for tutorial purposes, just to show you the full extent of what to expect, I went with the IP67. You're welcome. I'll now be charging you guys $1. But again, if you're doing the same project and you want to save money, just go with the Leonardo. It actually saves a lot. I don't know why I bought the Due. I just gave into the pressure that this is a tutorial. So we'll just be unboxing the Arduino Due and the LED lights just to show you what to expect. We'll start off with the LED lights here because it's simpler to open. And you'll see it comes like this. So yeah, that's the LED lights right here. Again, 67, it's all covered in, yeah, actually come to think about it, I should just went with IP65. Screw this, man. But whatever, IP67, it is what it is. I probably should keep this package so I can just refund it after this video. Up next is the almighty expensive Arduino Due, at least expensive in my eyes because I'm a cheapskate and I'm broke too. Grab a little knife over here, hopefully I don't stab myself. Oh my god. Bro, it's always that last edge. There we go. Opening the box right here, and as we can see, this is what we can expect the Arduino Due to look like. With the instruction manual, of course. It's nicely protected in plastic. I don't know if the third-party versions would have that, but yeah, this is what the Arduino Due looks like, if you guys did not know. Yeah, I probably should have went with the third-party version, actually. Bro, I'm at a negative cost over here. God dang, man. Actually cringe. Alright, so we got the Due, LED lights, and the cables. And if you guys were wondering what does the jumper cables look like, well, don't worry, they're all like this. Yeah, just all in thin strips, and then you can just like tug them out when needed. So here we are going to grab the LED lights, and whichever the stick out position is, you want to focus on this thing over here. So as you can see, there are pinholes for male. For the project, it is going to be male to male Dupont wires, but again, might as well get all three, but male to male is the idea thing. From this male to male Dupont wire, we are going to need 3 of them. It can be any 3, preferably 3 of them different colors, so it's easier to recognize. For me, I'm just going to go with red. That's literally how you pull it out. White. And green. And if you guys are red colorblind, I severely apologize. And that pretty much goes for the Dupont wires. You don't need to touch them again unless you accidentally break these. This can go back into the bag. I wonder if I can do a little refund scam and say, hey, there's 3 wires missing. Yeah, just me and my dumb ideas. Again, it doesn't matter which color of the Dupont wires, it literally doesn't matter. Just remember the position of which pin is connected to which. So we'll just kind of color coordinate it. So red goes with red here. The green one gets plugged into the green one. And the white one, I guess, gets plugged into the... Well, I guess it's somewhat white, actually. It's just kind of stained with green, but whatever. Feel free to use electrical tape and just wrap it around, but I leave the choice up to you. I'm going to refund this as soon as this video's done. So, yeah, I'm not going to duct tape it. This is where you want to hook up the Dupont wires onto the board. Feel free to pause the screen, but the format is similar to the Uno, Leonardo, and the Due. When plugging in the wire for the G and D ground, make sure you select the one that's closer to the 5V. Okay, so now that we have all the Dupont wires connected, what I need you to do is head over on to this website. So this is the website, and it'll also be linked in the description. Once you're here, you just want to go down to the bottom over here where it says releases. Give a click on that. You might be redirected to a page that looks like this, or at least currently it looks like this. And then just scroll down here until you see assets. If you have Linux, go with that first one. If you have Windows, go with the second one. Okay, so it's done downloading. So now what I'm gonna do here is just extract it over here because it's in a zip file. Move that unzipped folder onto the desktop here so it's easier for us to see. When you open up this folder, just make sure you're connected to the internet. You want to click on the one that says script. So first do a right click here and do run as administrator. It's basically just gonna open up command prompt. Now you might see something like this. The reason why it shows this is because it requires third-party downloads. So that's why it's detecting this message. Again, you can watch me do it first, and if I get hacked, then LOL. But anyways, you just click on more info and then just do run anyway. So upon doing that, we'll have this. We'll just type in 1 right here and hit enter. It'll do its thing. You'll see something like this. This is to install Java. Next, next, install. Literally just agree to everything. This pops up, hit yes. Once that's done, hit finish. Next up, you'll see something that looks like this. Because we are using the Arduino, well, I mean, this should be self-explanatory, yes. I do want to note that I could have used a screen recorder to record this, but I feel like this kind of point of view feels more authentic. Anyway, just like how you were installing Java earlier, you'll see a text box that looks something like this that'll pop out of nowhere. And we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to hit accept, install, say yes to everything. Alright, so after that text box disappears, you'll likely see the Arduino IDE there, or as long as you see something that says this at the end, you're basically done. Press any key to continue, give that a click right there. So back to this folder over here, we are now gonna head over to where it says Arduino Piano LED. And then over here, we will select Arduino Piano LED. But this time it is from the Arduino application. It may or may not take a while if it's your first time opening Arduino here. And while that's loading, make sure you grab your Arduino and select the correct USB cable. Since I'm using the Due, all I need is a micro USB slot, so I have that plugged in. Grab the USB, chuck it into the slot. I actually have to look at this. I legit can't see. This is probably like the toughest part of this project. Okay, there we go. For your case, the lights should not light up because I already done it myself, but I'll go through the steps with you. What realistically should happen is you plug in the USB and some LED light indicators should show on the board. Because I'm using the Arduino Due, I have to use a micro USB slot. If you guys are using the Leonardo, the micro USB slot should also work. But if it's the Uno, then make sure your USB is type A to type B. But I'm sure you guys probably would figure that out by now, right? Because I'm very good at instructing. Okay, so once you open that Arduino folder, you can expect something that looks like this. All the coding is provided, so no need to do anything. You may see some firewall settings saying like it should connect to private networks. Just accept it. It can be public or private, doesn't matter. You may see something that looks like this. Just hit yes. Self-explanatory. And this is to install a driver so it can connect to your Arduino while using the computer. So that's the reason why this is necessary. Hit install, and then hit install again. This thing again, hit install. Just a bunch of drivers just to ensure that the Arduino can run fully well on this computer. It'll do its thing right here down at the bottom. So we'll just wait for this to kind of chill out. And once you see the message installed servo, that means we're good to go. We are now gonna go over to the Arduino library right here, the library manager, and you wanna type in something called Fast LED. Just like that, and you will see something by Daniel Garcia. Click install on that one. Let that run through. Once you see this message over here, we're pretty much almost done. Now the next thing is, again, making sure your board is connected to the laptop or computer. Select your board up here. And because I'm using the Due, I'll be selecting this one. And now that is selected, we will click the check mark to verify all this code is working well. And if any error messages pop up over here, just click install manually and then come over to the left side and click install right over here. You'll see the progress bar over here while you're installing other things, but that is on the chance that you do indeed get an error message upon verifying with the check mark. So we'll let that run over here. Okay, we're at the final stages over here. It's doing its final installation. Hopefully this process should be simple on the computer because all it is just downloading something, clicking on a script, hitting accept on everything, clicking yes, and then following simple steps over here. So it definitely is easy to understand. Alright, so it is done installing over here. So we can close this if that shows up. For my case, since I got an error message when I first clicked the check mark, we're just going to click the check mark again just to make sure everything is all set. So it's going to do some kind of compilation, which is just to make sure everything here works. And as you can see, everything went well. No errors at all. Once that is done, then we can select the upload over here. And once you do that, well, hopefully it doesn't take too long, but once you do that, you'll see some lights lighting up around the LED here. So let that run through here. May take a bit, depending on how fast your computer is, and there we go. Once you see that, you are pretty much all set to go. As long as you see CPU reset, you are safe to close this thing over here. We are now ready to bring this laptop over and connect it to my piano over there. Okay, so my setup is slightly a bit ghetto right here, but I feel like I should just walk through the entire setup just to, make it a bit more transparent. So we have our laptop on over here. connect it over to the Arduino. For now, I'll be resting the LED on top of the piano, so it should look like this as of now. Once we configure where the LED light position is with our piano, then we can kind of move it around and then maybe tape it. As you can see, for my piano, my Midi cable is literally straight up just a printer cable. Again, double check for your piano and select the right Midi device that you need to get. So just like my Microsoft Paint diagram, what we're going to do is we are going to grab this USB here and also plug it into the same computer that is connected with the Arduino. So here we go. We're going to chuck it into this USB slot over here. Yes, I'm very good at this. Holy crap. Why did I choose a wobbly chair? There we go. So now that we have the Arduino Due and my piano's turned on with the Midi cable on the same laptop as the Arduino, we're going to head over to this folder again, which should look familiar, and select the third one over here. Now we'll see something that looks like this, or at least for this version. Usually the serial device, you don't need to touch anything, but on the chance nothing works, then select whatever shows up. But for me, by default, it is selected on the correct one. As for Midi device, my piano is this one. And once you're done, just click on open. And just to give it a little test right here, we will be clicking something right here. Anyways, if we head over to this back arrow here and we click on controls, we can change the color. So instead of being red, let's maybe go with a green color. There are multiple settings here in the program that you can customize, such as the brightness here. So like while you're playing, it doesn't like hurt your eyes. So maybe you can like lower it down a bit. You have multiple other settings over here and definitely can take a look over here and see what that's all about. But for now, we have our current color to be green. Let's go ahead and give that a little test run here. As you can see, it's green. Let's go and maybe try something yellow, perhaps. Give that a little test run. There we go. But as you can see, the color possibility is pretty endless. Anyways, at this point, I'm going to be positioning the LED lights to where my keys are. So for me to position this, I'm just going to click on middle C over here. And as we can see, it lines up pretty well. Let's maybe go over here to this note, and that lines up pretty well. So I'm okay with how this position is. So as of my setup, I'm okay to just tape it like this, just straight up just tape it down on all of the sides here. And you guys might realize that there might be some excess strip, which should be normal. If that's the case and that does hinder you a lot, you'll see if you look closely over here, there are these like copper lines over here. So if you want, you can grab scissors and just snip it off. Since I bought the IP67 water rating, it's going to be a lot tougher for me. If you bought IP65, it'll be slightly easier. And if you got the no waterproofing option, then straight up you can just cut it off like literally a piece of paper. But the reason why I got this is just to show you the full extent of what this project could look like. Depending on your keyboard, you might be able to just flip it 90 degrees right over here, basically where that red fabric is on your piano, and just literally place it in like this, and it might just line up perfectly well. So if you can, feel free to do that. But anyways, the video's pretty much over. You guys already know what to do. Feel free to hit the like and subscribe. This is the piano LED project using the Arduino. Had it been with a Raspberry Pi, then this laptop over here wouldn't have to be here. So instead of like selecting the colors over here, we basically select the colors right here, maybe like customize some buttons here, and then we should be able to see different color variants. But using the Arduino makes the boot time a lot faster, way cheaper, and the installation process is just a lot more easier. And just maybe if this video gets over 5,000 likes, I might consider doing a Raspberry Pi version, so the setup could look a lot cleaner. But for now, I guess I might as well test out my new LED light piano setup here.